Thank you for saying that. Welcome back to the Punchline. Now we want to talk about the general opinion polls as well as the numbers we've been getting from different opinion surveys. Of course, I was just engaging the leaders right here during the break, and some of them do not come from this school of thought. They're wondering where the numbers come from. But either way, let's just get into them, and I'll go to you, Dr. Nyikal. Tifa Institute recently released results on the survey they carried out on the popularity of political parties and the possible presidential candidates. That is the two key horses, Deputy President William Ruto and Raila Odinga. And if you look at the popularity of these parties, we have Wiper Party, Ford Party, and NC, who are both given 1% in terms of popularity. That's very, very low. And just tying it with this new development that we had, the Oka Alliance now getting the support of the Mount Kenya Forum. Are you not worried again about this?
Okay, when you have an opinion poll,
Yeah.
Before you get worried or excited about it, there are questions you have to ask yourself. Who did the opinion poll? How neutral is that person? 2, what was the methodology of the opinion poll? 3, what were the numbers that were used? 4, what was the sampling frame?
Yeah.
Because you have to go and pick people. So before you do that, and of all those things, I do not know who Tifa is. I do not know what numbers they did.
Yeah.
I do not know what sampling frame they had, and so on. So we do not know what population is talking about. Now, having said that, another thing about opinion polls is how far away are they from the elections? Because now is when you see people getting active, and I said people are shifting. So if the opinion poll gives you a positive lead, I think it is a feel-good effect. It makes you feel good, which is okay. It encourages you,
Yeah.
but you cannot bank on it. That you see, here we are, you haven't gone anywhere.
Okay.
So it is good to have it that way, but you must work hard. If you find that it doesn't, it's negative to you, it just gives you opinion that, okay, it may be true, let me pull up, and in that situation you may have to go and look, actually in both situations, go and look at actually the details of how this was done,
Yes.
which I've not done.
Okay.
So me, that is how I take opinion polls. They have a feel-good effect, they have an encouraging effect, they will give you a feel-bad effect, but you must go back and find the details of who they are. And like this one, I think I will definitely get time and look at who they are, sampling frame, the numbers used, and so on.
Well, Omingo, Honorable Nyikal has talked about the feel-good effect, and this, of course, now pertains to your party leader, that is Deputy President William Ruto. If you look at the statistics that were there, it indicated that UDA's popularity had increased from 21% to 30%, and ODM's had increased, pardon me, from 9% to 16%. But if you look at the eastern region, it states very clearly that Ruto has 35%, Raila has 13%, and Kalonzo 9%. On the flip side, looking at the support that Raila Odinga has been getting from key figures in the eastern region, we're talking about Governor Charity Ngilu, Governor Kivutha Kibwana, also Alfred Mutua. How do you then reconcile these numbers to see to it that it suits Deputy President William Ruto?
Well, it's also true that I agree with Professor Nyikal that the perimeters you use as you vote for the numbers, and I can tell you, like, the sample size is critical. You know, how many people did you interview, and how are the questions structured? Who moved these opinion polls? I'll tell you from our side, I am not aware, because it's one bit which, and I can only say we appear to be leading, no, because we instituted that poll. And I don't think if it was our thing, I would not disown it. But the fact remains here is that there's a question I'm looking at. When they say that Raila is gaining popularity, and they say Ruto is ahead in in the original 7 provinces, and they're saying now Raila then has got 1. When Raila is closing into Ruto, are they saying therefore even Raila was trailing behind Ruto? that he has moved one up in support in his favor when we know for sure Raila is ahead in the answer. So some of those things are questionable. But generally speaking, the trend in the country is it's now, if anything, they can start, they've woken up to campaign. Hitherto, we have been enjoying the show. And I think we have formed the frontrunner status. This could be a general thing, and sometimes that's not be denial. I'm telling you, we didn't engineer this. And if it's favoring us, you can discern from yourself what is happening in this country. I must confess here, therefore, that this was not our motivation. If it was independent elsewhere, it is showing a picture, could not be true.
Okay.
But we also live here. So far, so good. We have been hitting the road. It's now they're starting, even being converted to an economic discussion, which was never an issue today.
Well, Honorable Maanzo, as Magara has alluded to right there, of course, you can interpret it how you want to, because it was done independently and they weren't necessarily behind it. But just on the same point that I inquired Magara to respond to, it shows Kalonzo Musyoka at 9%, as much as this is an independent poll done by somebody else. Tying this with a question that I asked you in our previous sitting with the Nguma Sumba ward by-elections of Kalonzo Musyoka's influence in the region. This just clearly continues to show it that his influence is dwindling by the day. Is this the case?
I don't think that's the case. Yeah. Governor Gilu and Kibwana and Mutua, two of them, first of all, are exiting. They've got very little effect on the people of Lower Eastern. So first of all, this poll, I dismiss it for several reasons. I don't think it is really actual, and I don't think that particular company has credibility. Because you see, for a poll-running company must have credibility. And if a company wants really to show its credibility and that it has done a proper poll, they must be showing the details. They must show we interviewed 200,000 people in different parts of the country. So you must show even where you conducted the poll. So I totally disagree with that particular poll. I don't think it is correct. In fact, my own estimation, OCA, ODM, and UDA are actually a third each of the following in the country. There are quite a number of Kenyans, many of them who don't attend the rallies. They don't even get interviewed for the polls, but they are already made up their mind where they will vote and for why. Right. So this particular poll,
let me just bring something
really right.
A little bit. I tend to look at them maybe too scientifically. If you look at what is happening when people go to these rallies and meetings, and you go to the Honorable Raila goes to Eldoret and you see the crowd, and Ruto goes the following day, you see the crowd, and it's equally large. Are these different persons, or they are the same persons appearing at different times?
Yes.
Now that will tell you that you have to read a lot more on these polls, because I'm sure those are the same crowd, and you wonder what there's going. Is it entertainment value? Is it really full belief in this? Because, and again, for say like ODM, if somebody had been running all along for a year, and then you just start for 2 months, and then it is showing now you are catching up with them, what does it tell you? That very soon you will be far behind.
Well, Honorable Savula, you've clearly stated that you never follow these polls, but just looking at what Honorable Maanzo stated right there, that according to him, the three key parties, that is UDA, the OCA Alliance, which is not a party but an alliance, and ODM are all at a third. Now, judging by how people have been accusing the OCA Alliance of just sitting in boardrooms, I believe this comes as a reprieve now that you're all leveled, according to Honorable Maanzo.
Let me start by saying it's only a madman who can wake up and start walking or running. But a mentally organized person, he has to sit down, strategize, and start walking before he starts running. That is what OCA has been doing. The boardroom meeting are now over. Now we've started walking and we'll start running. As in regard to this poll, the credibility of this poll is below average. First of all, they should tell us who commissioned. Because a farm cannot just wake up in the morning and carry out a survey without somebody paying for it. Who commissioned? Who was the commissioner of this? What was the sample size? They have not told us the sample size.
They say they used a sample size of 1,590.
1,500. Is it representative?
Yeah.
Is it representative of the voting bloc of this country? It's not representative.
Yeah.
What was the interest of the person who commissioned? Maybe this is to drive a particular narrative or a particular perception.
Yes.
That the game is between the two people. And they are saying if election were to be held today, we have 8 months to the election. Coalition formation are now shaping up.
Yeah.
You see today you have added in Martha Karua in our bucket. Mark you, Ruto started campaign in 2017. Somebody who started running in 2017 from Nairobi to Mombasa, where is he? He's so far.
He should have arrived.
About to arrive in Mombasa.
Would have reached.
He will have reached. And he has not arrived in Mombasa.
Yeah.
Because he's still rated at something.
Yes.
Raila started the campaigns when they shook hands with Uhuru. They were campaigning through what you call BBI, the handshake. Musali was not campaigning. Oka was not there. We are just a new baby on the board.
Okay.
Makiu, Kalonzo Musyoka got 1.6, got 800,000 votes. But the Eastern Community Bloc gave Raila 1.6 million in 2017 with Kalonzo Musyoka. Now minus Kalonzo Musyoka because he has joined One Kenya Alliance. Where is this opinion poll, taking those votes that Raila has lost because Kalonzo is not with him? Let me just finish.
Yes.
Musalia Mudavadi was with the Raila.
Raila Odinga, yeah.
I voted for Raila. Now I'm in Oka. Where is opinion poll taking Musalia's vote because he's no longer with the Raila? Where is he? Where are they taking those votes? They're not considering those facts. Oka, we have not started campaign. We're just doing what you call name recognition rallies. Finally, we beat ODM in Matungu in a by-election. That's an indicator that One Kenya Alliance is strong. We beat ODM and UDA in Machakos senatorial by-election. That is an indicator that Oka is strong. We beat UDA in Kabuchai. Recent Kabuchai in the by-election.
Well, Honorable Savula, if you've had critics and analysts,
let me just finalize.
You cannot use a by-election as a litmus test for anything.
Those are some of the indicators.
Yes.
Those are some of the indicators. Finally, we target to register 7 million youth. And I'm really worried about William Samoei Ruto. I'm really worried. Unless he creates a wave, winning this presidency is a tall order.
Why would anybody worry about William?
Let me just finish. He's my neighbor. He's my neighbor, both in the village and here in Karen. He's my neighbor. So I'm worried of my neighbor. Because if IEBC targeted to register 7 million votes, and they only manage a paltry 2 million votes, and 3/4 of the youth are Ruto supporters, my friend, unless he creates a wave. I can give you an example. Peter Kenneth had how many followers on his Facebook? 2 million supporters. How many votes did he get? So these youth who are following Ruto in rallies all over are not registered, I will tell you.
Voters. Okay.
Musalia has solid supporters. Kalonzo has solid supporters. Raila has solid supporters. But Ruto has unregistered youth following him.
Can I correct this?
Just jump in. His statement.
In fact, quickly, you can see I'm being butchered from every corner. But I'm solid about this. I want to chip in something from Dr. Nyikal's statement. In fact, from his statement, I smell a rat that they may have been behind these polls. Because he says we have just started and we're catching up with Ruto. Sometimes opinion polls are placed to change public perception.
Yes.
And perhaps, Doctor, and I can tell you factually that the one who collects a statistician will prove anything or nothing depending on where you stand. So I can tell you, I don't own these. It is also worrying that within a couple of 1 or 2 weeks and one Kenya, United Kenya,
yes,
you cannot grow that spontaneously. I am suspicious about that. Coming back to my brother Savula, you shouldn't worry about our base. You know, every politician has got a strategy, and every party has got a strategy. Please worry about moving from 1% to 30, 31, 35%, as opposed to worrying about winning an election when we're already ahead.
We've just started.
And by the way,
we've just started.
and that's the reason why we are front runners and people are doing catch up. So what we're only asking Kenyans, let people decide without interference, using state organs, state departments to coerce people, and let them make their choice. And if Kenyans decide honorably, we know where the polls are. And we know who is our front runner. Catch up won't really change much.
Yes.
It's a question of time, and we shall be there.
Dr. Nyikal, you've heard him very well. Omingo is alluding to the fact that he's sort of
perceptionally they want to change the
I don't know this rat is smelling, but wherever the rat is, I started off by saying that if such opinion polls are in your favor, they're just a feel-good effect.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not something
that you are catching up.
Yeah, that is something you want to write home about. So, taking from that, you should now smell the rat differently. But again, I wanted to say something about by-elections.
Yes.
By-elections are not very good indicator of the strength of parties, because what happens is a small area and the party takes everything they have there. Your full strength will be seen when you have candidates all over the country, and you have to spread your forces and your influence everywhere.
Yeah.
That is when you see. So as Honorable Savula is saying, yes, there were those victories. We just study them and say, to us, when we study them and say, what does it mean for us? What was the population structure? He keeps saying something here that is very important, which may go up to this poll also. What is the population structure of the people? If you went to and picked secondary school
demography.
If you pick secondary school kids who are not even registered voters,
and mainly that's what they do. They use university students who are not even registered voters.
So I think it is a feel good or feel bad, but you must go and look at the details of how it was done, and then work with your program. As Honorable Savula was saying, you sit down and say, plan. You don't first of all plan how you are going to campaign. The first thing you should do is what is it you want to do for Kenyans.
Good. Okay.
So that what I'm expecting soon, and I've not started hearing it, is what people want to do for Kenyans. You heard from our side, we have started mentioning the things that we want to do in areas of health and so on.
Yes.
But we're going to expect this, that by the time you come full blast, you give us a document that we can look at and say, when we finish and you win, in the first 100 days, that document can be put on the table and implemented 1, 2, 3, 4, and reduced to lay language. And then you start programming how you will campaign. I think that is the process we are in. When people are running around, I hope that behind that running around, there is some work being done, which eventually will be valued.
Honorable Maanzo, we are in the spirit of coalition building, and talks have been ongoing, but also just following up on conversations that Honorable Savula has been having across different platforms. He's also been alluding to the fact that there is some sort of a weak link in the One Kenya alliance. Moving forward, are you skeptic that there's some sort of weak link that might undermine this big picture that you're working towards?
I don't think there's any weakness or weak link in OCA.
Yeah.
OCA is a growing party, and first and foremost, its bases are known, its followers are known, and that's why I say that currently, really, if you look at the country as a whole, and the changes which has happened politically, you realize that chances are high that OCA is controlling a third of the voting bloc right now. ODM is controlling a third too, and UDA is controlling a third. And That is likely. If you had an election today,
Yes.
you are likely to force a rerun, and Oka will be leading.
Okay.
So it will be UDA and ODM to run after
Said that well, Omingo, I keep seeing you smiling at those
let me
remarks.
tell you. Let me
Yes.
tell you. I mean, a third is truly a joke of the year.
Why? Why is this a joke?
I mean, how do you say one plus one of the two, one plus one another one without a record can equal to the score, even if we're not part of this, really?
Yes.
That's point number one. A third, I think, is a far-fetched estimation. But talking about what Professor Dr. Nyikal said, luckily for us, in fact, I want to confirm to Professor Dr. Nyikal that indeed, at the backroom, the economic brains are working on an economic blueprint, and of not only of the nation, but every region has presented their agenda, an economic agenda that they want to deliver to them when we take office. And this is what we call economic blueprint. So, which is going to be is being compiled, and as we hit the campaign, which we're not doing now, we are familiarizing and collecting facts from the ground, we shall now give maybe a 10 simple point agenda for Kenya to digest. As for now, I am glad that everybody, or our competitors, are talking about the economic model. Initially, it was some synonyms that you couldn't have put a meaning to.
All right. Honorable Savula,
you mentioned my name. You said when I issued a statement saying that the weak links in One Kenya land.
Yes.
The weak links I was talking about is about self-interest among the low cadre fellas. That is the interest of the MPs. Okay. Like in Western, Savula, I would like Musalia, and I pray, I'm a son of a pastor, that Musalia becomes the presidential candidate of Oka. In Eastern,
also praying for the white smoke to come.
Those are the weak links I was talking about. I didn't say that the principles are on a collision course. No. The weak links, the self-interest. And I explained, even in a marriage, it's not smooth throughout. 1 or 2 days you quarrel with your wife, you quarrel with your kids, you discipline your kids here. But what I'm worried about is the diminishing funds in UDA. These days they don't have money. They're campaigning on platform of cash.
Again, you can
1 million here, 1 million here.
Again, they don't have money. There is a difference between a poor man and a mean man. I mean,
let me say something about the background work. You know, if you look at our party, when we actually started on this line, we really actually started with what is good for Kenya. It became politicized, and people used the abbreviations to demonize the content. So when we started off with the BBI, we looked at what are the issues in Kenya, the issue of corruption, the issue of ethnicity, elections where people fight every day, the people feeling that they don't belong, unemployment amongst the youth, and so on. Unfortunately, it became politicized, and the court had process issues with it, not content issues. Okay. The court had process issues, not content issues. Well, we put that aside and say, okay, we as they are saying, we are still coming, and it is those things. You can't bring anything new in Kenya other than those things that we brought. You may come with different approaches to them, but they will still remain, and that's where we are. Okay. So in terms of what we're doing for Kenyans, I think we are way ahead.
All right. Well, Omingo, as we finish, I believe we have less than 5 minutes to just get your final remarks. But
Professor Dr. Nyikal keeps on drawing me to talk to, and I know he's my senior and my friend. BBI. I am saying BBI was a fraud. Okay. A fraud in the sense you did not require a referendum to increase funding to the counties. A motion in Parliament tomorrow will increase funding to 70%.
Yes.
Help, for heaven's sake. It's a policy document, the Ministry of Education and Finance. They do a document, you increase or give moratorium to the students. What essentially the BBI had in mind was to kind of balkanize the country with top positions on those tribal headship to garner leadership. It was flawed in court because we are reversing the gains which the Constitution gave us, including bringing the ombudsman in terms of walking to court through the back door. It had to die, and it did die natural death.
Remember, it died. It died. It didn't even die.
So far,
let's wait for the decision of the Supreme Court.
So far,
let me tell you, it is the
process.
process. Even in those issues that are in court, it is not about the content. It is about the process.
The process, yeah.
And even the what you are talking about, referendum is also a process. We could say, you could say, okay, they didn't need referendum. That's fine. But what about the thing it was saying needed to be done? That's a good thing. So we could pull out and say, leave the referendum alone. And that's what we will do. We may leave the referendum. We'll take the contents, the ones that need to be put for the sake of Kenya. We are not fighting about process. Okay. We are fighting about content.
All right, Honorable Maanzo, as you give your closing remarks, your NDC is just a few days away. I believe this is Thursday, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Are we having Kalonzo Musyoka for that ticket? That is what people are expecting.
Yes, that's what we are preparing for, so that first of all we can comply with the law and properly appoint the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka as the flag bearer of the Wiper Party, and also give him the mandate to negotiate with the like-minded parties to form government. Political parties are formed to form government, and coalitions are formed so that they can form government. Right. We want to give Kenyans, an opportunity to elect a leader who will unite Kenyans. All these policies we are talking about, they cannot work when the country is not peaceful. First and foremost, the country needs to be peaceful so that all those policies people are marketing around can be reality. And finally, we really encourage the use of this country to register as voters. It is useless to hang around political rallies and you have no vote.
All right, well, Omingo, as you give your closing remark, I believe that statement was meant for you. It's useless to hang around and you have no votes. And also, just tie it,
let me say this.
Omingo, just also tie it with what Honorable Savula say, that you don't have money. You've been dishing out $1 million.
Now, UDA is broke. They're now fundraising.
The problem with this, some of these guys who are struggling to start giving contribution to church is because they're literally mean. What I'm saying, there's a difference between a mean person and a poor man. When you are mean, you have and you don't give. Okay. When you're poor, little you have, you give. So I'm saying they shouldn't worry about the money. And indeed, they keep on talking about corruption and whatever. And corrupt people are in jail.
Yes.
They should not be out here. And I think let's also be fair to each other. Let's not call each other names. And of course, this is basically out of the worry and the panic in whatever circles they are. That's why everybody else, Alan, except perhaps yourself, is punching UDA today because you are a moderator. The rest of these gentlemen here are punching me. And I will see the beauty about it is, I don't die down, I die standing. What we are saying here is, it is not about rallies. Those people, what they were talking about, who are who the votes which may have come from Kalonzo, I am telling them, voters are not static. When they are influenced with a movement like economic model that we presented, they moved. In fact, they moved to UDA. So don't worry where they went, Savula. They moved to UDA, and that's why that opinion poll is completely questionable. And I think it was meant to show that somebody somewhere is catching up with us to change public perception. Far from it, reality will dawn, and we want it at the ballot, we shall know. And the problem is, and I still repeat, Professor and Oka friends, please note, when there is an overwhelming arm of government in an election process, it's convenient when they are on your side. It is supposed beforehand they may change that course, then you start crying. Let us correct things, whether they are favorable to you, so long as they are wrong, call it by name. But Tiang should not preside over the electioneering processes of security when he has an interest. It may change to be to our side, then you start complaining, but it will be too late in the hour.
All right, let me give Honorable Savula this opportunity. Of course, you did not get the opportunity to jump in on the call for the resignation and why Matiang'i shouldn't necessarily handle the next general election as you give your closing remarks.
That one is overtaken by events, but what I would like to advise my fellow politicians and call upon Kenyans, let's tone down the issue of political intolerance. I come from a place called Tarbo. It was a key political violence area in 2007 general election. You know, Tarbo, this side is Lugari constituency, and Tarbo, this side is Tarbo constituency. I'm 7 minutes from Ruto's house. what I saw in Turbo before I became a politician, I would not wish the same to repeat in this country.
Yeah.
And what I'm seeing, two sides, the Ruto side abusing the Raila side, the Raila side abusing the Ruto side. What we are doing, we are raising the temperatures. And the only solution, we need a sober man who has some cold water to pour on this side of Raila and pour on this side, to reduce the temperatures. And that man is solid, called Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi.
Okay.
I will support him up to the end to ensure that we have a peaceful election. Our party is called Amani. And I'll be running for the county seat of Kakamega as the governor.
Yes.
And I'll bring fruits for the people of Kakamega because I'm sure Musalia is going to be the president. Thank you.
Dr. Nyikal,
when I
is sure Mudavadi is the 5th president?
I want to close by saying that when we got independence, we had 3 enemies, was ignorance, poverty, and disease. 50 years or more down the line, we've not reduced them significantly. What we have added is corruption and tribalism that has resulted in all these things actually getting worse with youth unemployment. I can tell you that I practiced medicines earlier on when we were transferring patients from Aga Khan to Kenyatta because it was a better hospital.
Yeah.
When we went to school, when only kids who failed went to private schools, the public utilities were working. And my view is, let's get to a situation where we create unity, as Honorable Maanzo said. That is our Azimio call now. And on top of that, look at the problems that has made it impossible for us to move, so that we correct those problems. We move back to a situation where the public utilities, which most of the people use, give the best of the services, and not go into a situation where good services are only seen in the private sector, which the majority of Kenyans cannot afford. Okay. And I think there's only one party in this country, ODM, that has that vision. All right. As of now.
Alan, peace is necessary.
Yes.
And please, when Raila went to Rift Valley Eldoret, he was received with velvet gloves. Yeah. They should not throw stones. It's now out of fashion to do that, for whatever reason. Let us not spike and create emotions. And I appreciate what my brother is saying.
Musalia.
And all of us
Yes.
require that. Please, so that when we are talking about Azimio la Umoja Kenya nzima, it does not exclude people from Nyanza or Rift Valley. All of us are Kenyans.
And it's good as sat in between them.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for making time for us. Of course, the most important thing that we're coming out of this conversation is we need to tone down on the political intolerance. We wouldn't love to see what happened in our nation back in the 2007-2008 election. A big thank you to my panel tonight, Dr. Nyikal, Sema Member of Parliament, Omingo Magara, the National UDA Treasurer, and before I forget, aspiring Kisii Governor. I got that right? Also, Honorable Dan Maanzo, the Member of Parliament of Makwini, and finally, Deputy Party Leader and Lugari Member of Parliament, who's also aspiring to become the county boss of Kakamega and take over Governor Paranya. That is Honorable Ayub Savula. Thank you for making time for this conversation. It's time for us to now get some sports news.
K24 Sports News, powered by Mozart Bet.
What would you do with 20 million shillings? The biggest maximum payout per